Okay, I want to try something. I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to pay attention to the answer that comes up before you think about it. All right, you ready? How are you? Did you say I'm fine? Because some of us have been saying I'm fine for so long. It's basically muscle memory at this point. If you don't say I'm fine, maybe you say I'm good, I'm okay. How are you? I'm fine. I'm okay. How's your pain? I'm okay. You look tired. Everything good? Yeah, I'm good. Meanwhile, your back hurts. Your pelvic pain has been bothering you all day. It was bothering you all night. You barely got comfortable sleep. You're exhausted. You haven't eaten. You're irritated. And you really want everybody to stop asking you for stuff. Stop expecting you to show up and handling everything. But I'm fine. And listen, sometimes you are fine. We're not about to turn the word fine into a diagnosis. Nah. But I want you to know something. When you say, I'm fine, do you actually know how you're doing? Did you even take a moment to reflect and check in with yourself to know how you're truly doing? Or is I'm fine just the fastest way to keep moving, to get through the conversation, on to the next? And if you've ever said, I'm fine, when you knew there was a whole paragraph behind that answer, drop fine in the chat. FINE. Because today we need to talk about that paragraph. But before we dive into this episode, y'all already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. And this episode is brought to you by Forward Vibrations, helping women with persistent pelvic pain build a life pain no longer gets to define. Y'all, I'm Jovonnie, and today we're talking about what happens when I'm fine becomes automatic. All right, so tell me if you've ever done this. You're having a rough day. Somebody asks, are you okay? And you say, yeah. 5 minutes later, you're in the bathroom thinking, actually, no, I'm not okay. Or somebody says, do you need anything? And you're like, no, I'm good. Then later you're frustrated because nobody helped you and you really needed some help or support. Now, wait a minute. They asked you, but in the moment, you didn't even know what to ask for. Or somebody says, what do you want to do today? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. Would you rather go out or stay home? I don't know. What would make you feel better? I don't know. Anybody? Because we talk a lot about not listening to our bodies, but sometimes it's deeper than that. What if you don't know what you're actually listening for anymore? I'm going to say that one more time. What if you don't know what you're listening for anymore? This is why these conversations connect. Episode 1 of this series, we talked about what we've normalized. Episode 2 in this series, we talk about push through pattern and I'll rest later women. And remember what we said, you got through it, but what did it cost you? Now think about what happens when you do that repeatedly. Your body says, I'm tired, later. I'm hungry, later. I'm hurting, I know, later. I'm overwhelmed, not now. I need a minute. Girl, we don't have a minute. And if you have that conversation long enough, eventually your body says, I need, and you're like, I don't even know. That's where we're going today. And I understand this because there was a time in my own journey when I was really good at answering one question. What needs to happen next? What needs to get done? Where do I need to be? Who needs something from me? What do I need to handle? I could go and answer that, or I could figure out another thing that I need to do. You just give me a second. I can come think about all the things I haven't done yet that I need to do. But Jovonnie, what do you need right now? That's a totally different question because my body had been communicating debilitating pelvic pain, fatigue, painful bowel movements, low back pain, irregular cycles. Those were signals. But my relationship with those signals wasn't always, let me understand what I'm experiencing. And a lot of times it was, okay, but how do I just keep going? Is it even something I need to be mindful of? And there's the difference between knowing how to manage something that you're going through and then also knowing how to respond to yourself on the inside of that. And I've gotten really good at the first one, how to manage myself through something. But it was really about responding to myself on the inside that I really needed to learn. And maybe you know exactly what I mean. Maybe you don't notice you're hungry until you're hungry, or what they call hangry. Now, everybody needs to move out the way. And maybe you don't notice you're tired until you finally sit down and realize, oh, wow, I'm exhausted. I didn't know I was even this tired or my body was just drained until I was still. Maybe you don't realize you're overwhelmed until somebody asks you one innocent little question. Hey, do you know where? I don't know. Dang, I was just asking. And then you're sitting there like, okay, that response probably wasn't about the question. Anybody? Maybe you don't notice the tension until your jaw has been clenched for an hour. Just real tight jaw. Or your shoulders are up close to your ears. Don't even notice it. Maybe they were just now when I told you about it. Maybe the tension is in your shoulders. Maybe it's in your back. Maybe it's in your stomach. And it starts to think about, maybe it's you holding your breath and you didn't even know you were holding your breath. What if our bodies are communicating, but we've gotten so used to responding only when the volume gets loud enough? And there's another reason I'm fine can become easy. Sometimes you don't even want to have the whole conversation. Let's just be real. Because if I say, actually, I'm not doing that great today, now there might be follow-up questions. What's wrong? What's happened? What have you experienced today that has you feeling this way? Have you called your doctor? Have you tried this? You know what? Where do you think that's coming from? And sometimes you're like, all right, I don't even have the energy to explain all of this, so I'm just going to say I'm fine. Sometimes you don't want people worrying about you, so you don't even express what really is going through your mind. Sometimes you're tired of talking about pain. Sometimes you don't want to be seen as the person who's always dealing with something. And sometimes you don't even have the language to explain how you feel. Because when you've been living with symptoms for a long time, your reference point can actually change. Somebody asks, how do you feel? And you're thinking, compared to what? Yesterday? Last month? My worst flare? A good pain day? So sometimes fine doesn't mean I feel good. Sometimes fine means this is tolerable enough for me to continue. And that is very different. This is where I want us to get very curious, because sometimes disconnecting actually helps us function. You have something you have to get through, you compartmentalize, you distract yourself, you tell yourself, I can't focus on this right now. And temporarily, that can work. But the problem isn't that you did it. The question is, when did temporary become automatic? Because there's a difference between I can't deal with this right now and I don't know how to check in with myself anymore. That's powerful. That's an awareness. That's what I call the disconnection pattern. It's one of the 5 hidden survival patterns. And the phrase underneath this one is, I don't know what my body needs anymore. Have you ever felt like that? Not knowing what your body needs? Not because you don't care about yourself. You may have simply gotten really good at doing what life required while putting what you required on hold. And sometimes that works. Disconnection can help you get through the moment. But remember, what we're learning to ask in this series, what's the cost? Maybe you don't recognize you're reaching capacity until you're already past it. Maybe somebody asks, what do you need? And you genuinely don't know. Maybe your body feels unpredictable because you're only recognizing certain signals once they're loud. That's what I want us to start getting curious about. And let me be clear. I'm not saying every pelvic pain flare gives you some warning sign that you missed. Medical conditions are complicated and symptoms can absolutely feel sudden or unpredictable. I'm talking about the information you do have access to: your energy, your capacity, your tension, your hunger, your stress, your need for rest. Do you notice those signals before you reach your limit, or only after the crash afterwards? That's the conversation. And here's what I want you to remember: I'm fine can end a conversation your body is still trying to have. Think about it. I'm tired. Fine. I'm overwhelmed. Fine. I'm uncomfortable. Fine. I need something. Fine. And we keep moving. So I'm not asking you to stop saying I'm fine. I'm asking you to stop letting fine be the end of the conversation. Actually, let's practice right now. Seriously, wherever you are, how are you? And don't you say fine. I'm serious. Give me another word. Are you tired, calm, heavy, energized, overwhelmed, hungry, hopeful, frustrated, content? What is it? If you're watching live, drop one word in the chat that's describing how you actually feel right now. I want to see it. Comment one word in the chat right now describing how you feel. And I want you to look at what other women are saying too, because this is what checking in can look like. Not fixing, not diagnosing, not judging, just this is where I am right now. And here's what I want you to practice this week. It's ridiculously simple. Whenever you catch yourself automatically saying, I'm fine, mentally add and. That's it. I'm fine and let's see how it works. I'm fine and I'm exhausted. I'm fine and my back is bothering. I'm fine and I need a minute. I'm fine and I'm actually overwhelmed. I'm fine and I need to eat. Or even, I'm fine and I don't know what I need yet. You don't have to say any of that out loud to anybody. This can be between you and you. Just you and you. Because we're rebuilding the conversation. And maybe you really are fine. And that's great. And there may still be some information there. Fine doesn't have to mean nothing else is happening. Now imagine what starts changing when you don't have to wait until you're at the 8 to respond to something you could feel at 3. I'm going to say it again. Now imagine what starts changing when you don't have to wait until you're at an 8 to respond to something you could feel at a 3. Imagine recognizing I'm reaching capacity. Jovonnie, you're starting to reach capacity before you completely get depleted. Imagine saying, I actually need some help before resentment sets in. Imagine noticing I need rest before your body makes rest a non-negotiable. Imagine somebody asking, what do you need? And you actually have an answer. Not every time, because we're human. Like, let's just be real. But more often, because the goal isn't bothering hyper-focused on every sensation in your body. The goal is connection. Y'all comment the word connection in the chat. Connection. Being able to hear yourself, know yourself, respond to yourself, and include yourself in the decisions you're making about your own life. Because we're not trying to become women who are afraid to live because we experience pain. We're building lives. Pain no longer gets to define. All right. So now I want to hear from you. And I'm putting this exact question in the show notes. So if you don't know and you're driving right now and you're listening on your favorite podcast distribution platform, or you're washing dishes while you're listening to the Empire Plates, Empire Lives podcast on YouTube, just come back and check the show notes. Here's the question. When you say, I'm fine, what are you usually pushing past? Is it pain, fatigue, stress, overwhelm, needing help, needing rest, something else? Tell me. One sentence is enough. Because I want you to understand that I'm fine actually means for women living with persistent pelvic pain. What does that really mean? And if you're living with persistent pelvic pain, I want to hear from you. I created a 30-second pelvic pain survey. 3 questions about what you're actually experiencing. Does your pelvic pain feel random or unpredictable? Do you push through pain or exhaustion just to get through your day? Do you feel like something is affecting your symptoms, but you can't quite figure it out what? If you answered yes to any of those, go and take the survey. The link is in the show notes. 30 seconds, 3 questions. That's it. All right. Check the show notes and then make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you listen on your podcast distribution platform, make sure you give the show a rating and a follow. So, y'all, next episode, I need my overthinkers for this one. And truly, I'll be leading the line for the overthinkers crew, because maybe your body is finally sitting down and it's saying, I'm going to sit down, but your mind is still at work, planning, researching, brainstorming, replaying conversations, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about something that happened yesterday, trying to anticipate what could go wrong next week. And then somebody says, just relax. Oh, okay. Why didn't I think of that? We're getting into another hidden survivor pattern, always on. And we're asking, what happens when your body stops, but your mind never does? But until then, the next time you hear yourself automatically say, I'm fine, don't beat yourself up. Just add one word. And, because remember, I'm fine can end a conversation your body is still trying to have. Let's keep the conversation going and flowing. Make sure you comment so we can vibe together. But most importantly, y'all, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.